Peace and love, everybody. It's your man, Manny Faces. Now you can hear me. I wanted to come in. I don't know why these things get said. I haven't done a show in a couple weeks, but here we are. I didn't want to come in with the intro. I didn't want to come in with the regular, thing that we do. I wanted to get right into it, let everyone kind of trickle in. Thanks, Andrew Wang, for letting me know that the mic was muted. All the settings, nothing changes from the last show to the new show. You'd be really surprised at the gremlins that work behind the scenes, when people do this live streaming thing. Silent Night's in the house, JSK. Silent Night knows because he does a stream every Thursday, most Thursdays on Twitch, right? The amount of work, stress, behind the scenes, technical difficulties, all the things you have to prep in your head to get a show like this going is obscene and absurd. And I don't think y'all really understand. But we're going to see. We're going to see. So I was letting people come in. Oh, very nice. Okay, cool. I think I could put your chats on screen. Say something else in the chat. Oh, you know what? Yeah, say something else in the chat just so I can make sure I can put your things on the screen. My name is Manny Faces. This is Hip Hop Could Save America. It may seem disjointed at first, but I'm going to trim the beginning so no one will know what actually just happened. So it's going to be fantastic. The reason why I'm coming here today is not just for the live stream, although please participate. I want to get your input. I want to get your 2 cents, whoever's watching live. You probably know me at this point. You might be just stumbling across this for the first time. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this book. It's a book, an actual physical book. And I wrote it, and we're going to talk about it. So that's what I want to, hey, man, Andrew, you don't got to, answer to us, baby. You do what you got to do. I don't need to hear everything about everybody's life right now. You got to work, man. Andrew Wang is out there doing webinars and getting things together. We got a hip hop ed conference coming up this weekend in New York City. I got a million things. If I spent my whole show telling you all the things I got to do, we wouldn't have a show. So all good, baby. I'm glad you're here. Always glad you're here. Everyone, just think about what we're here to talk about tonight. The topic is crazy. I wanted to get on that, extra internet-y question mark type thing. Is this the most important hip hop book of our time? I mean, I think it might be, but that's just me. I'm conceited. I got a reason. I wrote a book. It's a good one, and it's filled with information that I think is valuable to humanity. It's not just me espousing all of my ideas and waxing poetically and giving you philosophies and Manny Facesisms. No. The book is a compilation of interviews, for the most part, with other people, right? So I could have done anything I wanted to do for my debut book, right? Again, this is a book. It's coming out on Peter Lang. It's an international academic publisher. Real book, real thing. And it's out and it's available now. And I've been waiting to tell you all about it because there was delays and all kind of stuff. So shouts to Fan Version. Shouts to my peoples in the building. I appreciate y'all for checking in. This book is important, and for people who are tuning in later, because you're going to see the title, and you're going to be like, what's this guy talking about? He wrote a book, and who cares? So I want to read you sort of the description of the book, all right? This is all about the book. I'm not even going to sugarcoat. This is all about the book and me tonight. This is what this show is about. No interviews, no nothing. But I do want your input. I do want your questions. Some of y'all haven't read the book yet. Some of y'all started to read the book. And some of you obviously coming across this video is not even going to have gotten the book or knew the book existed until right now. So let me read to you what this says. It says, this book examines how hip-hop, far beyond its musical aspects, represents a powerful force for social, economic, and cultural transformation in America. Understand, this book examines how hip-hop, far beyond its musical aspects, represents a powerful force for social, economic, and cultural transformation in America. I'm just going to stop there because if those words don't make sense together, you know what I mean? If you know hip hop and you know social transformation and cultural, and it doesn't seem like hip hop is the vehicle for that, you might be in one of three camps. You might believe that those words don't even belong together in a sentence. You might believe that they once belonged together in a sentence, but no longer do. And you might believe that they continue to belong in a sentence. Any one of those camps you fall into, I'm going to make the case that you should get your hands on this book and you should talk to me about it and ask your questions. Through detailed analysis and real-world examples, Remember, I talked to a lot of people in this book. There's like 15 people that I talked to in this book. It's a book of interviews for the most part, but there's expert analysis. What does it say? Detailed analysis. Expert. I'm just, I'm an expert. Through detailed analysis and real-world examples, it demonstrates how hip-hop's innovative spirit and collaborative mindset are already improving fields like education, healthcare, technology, and community building. And many more, by the way. Many more that are in the book and just in general. The author, that's me, challenges mainstream media's narrow portrayal of hip-hop culture and argues that its methodologies and philosophies, born from marginalized communities' resilience and creativity, offer solutions to some of America's most pressing problems, including economic inequality, political dysfunction, and racial division. What? Hip-hop can fix those things? I mean, it's a lofty idea, but yeah, that's the idea. That's the thesis. That's what I'm positing. By documenting successful applications of hip-hop's principles across various sectors and advocating for broader recognition of hip-hop's transformative potential, the book presents a compelling case for embracing this cultural movement as a catalyst for positive societal change. Hence the title, Hip-Hop Can Save America, Inspiration for the Nation from a Culture of Innovation. We're cool. We understand this. We get it. Like, that's the basis of the book. One endorsement on the back cover, quote, "I indeed endorse this crucial project. There is no doubt these visionary voices are badly needed in our grim times." The esteemed intellectual, Dr. Cornel West. It's right here. Okay? Cornel West agrees that this book is important. So you might not know me, you might not like me, you might not give two F's about what I got to say. Understand that someone like Cornel West, plus Dr. Raphael Travis is on the back of the book. Dr. Murray Foreman is on the back of the book. We've already gotten a nice endorsement from Howard University's hip-hop studies minor. All right, so just setting the table here, that this is not just a book of ruminations. This is not just a book of me giving my opinion like a lot of, internet pontificators. They just, give their opinions and then they can put it into a book if they want. This is a book about what I'm saying. This is a book about what we're saying. What we're saying. All right? Cornel West is incredible. I mean, I happen to have known him, met him a couple times. I interviewed him for another podcast that I produced called Newsbeat. We'd interviewed him for a couple of times. He was vaguely aware of the work that I'm doing on this podcast. Remember, Hip Hop Can Save America, the book started with Hip Hop Can Save America, the podcast, an audio podcast, now well over 100 episodes, by the way. So again, if you're just coming across this, trying to find out, is this the most important hip hop book of our time? And what does that mean, right? I'm not new to this. This has been going on for a long time. My personal backstory goes back into hip-hop journalism, probably just about 20 years now. Hip-hop arts and culture and immersive in all of those things back 40 years now. You know what I mean? So not new to this at all. But this started with the podcast. And I started it in 2018. And if you read the introduction to the book, there's actually an introduction. It's pretty important. The introduction, sometimes you skip over the introduction. You just go to chapter 1. I don't care. It's like when you're looking at recipes online. You'd be like, I don't care about your grandma who, lived in the foothills of Mount Etna in Italy, and Nana made tomato sauce and I went to her house on the weekends. I don't, where's the recipe? You want to skip ahead. I get it. This is not that. This is the introduction sets the table, and it's actually really valuable. It's really, obviously it's my thoughts and why I did this, but I think it really lays a great foundation. Again, if you're into hip hop music and culture and think that it is beautiful and transformative and it helps save your life and it helped make you the better person that you are today, and that potential still continues and that there are people doing that work. You could be one of us. You know this stuff. You work in these fields. You get it. You do it. Cool. You're going to really like how I laid the table. If you're someone, again, 3 buckets, right? You could be the person that is all for it or the person that thinks that it doesn't happen anymore. Chuck D, the famous The rhyme animal. What was I trying to think of? He says something. The incredible, right? D, Public Enemy #1, right? So was just on the Breakfast Club. And throughout a conversation, long meandering conversation as these things go, Charlemagne the God asked him, do you think that hip hop is still the best tool for revolution? Okay? Still the best. Hip hop's been looked at as a potential tool for revolution. Some would say that it was active tool for revolution in other times, in earlier times, certainly through it's music. It's what we call protest music, and obviously the social conditions that are relayed through music that were unfamiliar to Middle America, for better or for worse, got exposed from rap music and hip hop culture. We talk about all of the ways that hip hop, there were hip hop political conventions, groups of people seeing the world in a different way, seeing politics in a different way. Those were making some strides. They were making some movements, right? A continuation of maybe the Black Panther Party or something like that from, 60s and 70s. Now it was like sort of the hip hop political convention was starting to happen. Rosa Clemente, my homie, right? I just hung out with Rosa Clemente in New York, was part of that. Shouts to, so many people involved in those movements. I'm not going to go through the list right now. I'll be talking about that, though. Stay tuned. Point is it still the best tool for revolution? That's what Charlemagne the God posed to Chuck D. And really, without missing a beat, Chuck D said no. No. Talked briefly about everyone now having a gadget, and that hip hop used to be covert, and then it, wasn't covert, and now that it's been sort of co-opted, and it just doesn't have that ability anymore, I guess. Didn't say anymore. He didn't really answer the question. He kind of meandered off. But the no is telling to me, because this is Chuck D, and we all look up to Chuck D, and we all respect Chuck D, and we love Chuck D for what he does, and he's been doing some work on the academic field. He's been doing some work with the U.S. State Department, which some people, listen, there's two sides to every hip hop story, and some people would not like some of the work that he's done. As someone who was supposed to be a revolutionary figure, there's just facts. Don't come at me. I'm just telling you these things exist. Chuck D's been doing work for the U.S. State Department, and some people feel like that's not a good use of hip hop's, rebellious energy. It's a fact. Stop. Fact is, when he was asked then, is hip hop still, and I'm saying the words because I think it's important. The implication there, at least to Charlemagne the God, was that it once was, and perhaps isn't anymore. So you might be in that bucket of people that think that hip hop used to have a revolutionary spirit, but no longer does. Like Chuck D apparently doesn't, right? The problem with that, and I don't even want to say the problem with that, because I don't like to call out people. I like to now call them in, right? Shouts to, my man, I'm talking, Dre, who said, don't try to call out these folks. We want to call them in. Like, I like that phraseology. I like saying we're going to call them in. And I literally wrote a book. That's filled with 12, 13 chapters talking to people who are doing hip hop in revolutionary ways. Now, it may not be the revolution that some people are looking for or asking for or envision, but it is not radical, and it is not revolutionary. 12 people, right? Including Dr. Bettina Love, who was doing hip-hop education, was doing hip-hop civics training, has since gone on, not she's not doing that anymore, has since gone on to write a New York Times bestseller about school abolition. What's more revolutionary and radical than school abolition? The idea that the school system is just not designed for modern times and modern demographics, and not that we can reform it, because the reforms actually end up hurting the ones who are most in need of help, the marginalized, the oppressed, the underserved, the resourced, whatever, black and brown. You know what I'm talking about, like whatever term you want to use, that they end up getting hurt more by reforms. So it's not reform. We can't have school reform. We can't have education reform. You can't fix what's broken. As Andre Lord said, you can't, You can't, with the masters, you can't tear down the master's house with the master's tools. So there's an argument to be made that it's not school reform, it's school abolition. It's not, hip hop education, as we love our hip hop ed friends, and we'll talk about their conference that's coming up this week. Is that, can we fix it from the inside? Can we infiltrate the systems? Smack it, flip it, rub it down, and then emerge with this new radical revolutionary way of doing education? Maybe. I think our hip hop ed friends would argue that. Certainly some of the other educators in this book would argue it. I argue it because I think that there's maybe something to be said for, not having to reinvent the infrastructure wheel, right? When it comes to fixing systems that are oppressive and doing it through hip hop, right? Because we know that hip hop has done it when it's applied itself to the music business. The whole music business has changed because of hip hop since day one. Electronic music production has been changed from DJing and sampling and all the things that hip hop has done. Hip hop is, you can't find me, I don't care where you go in America, find me a dance class that doesn't teach tap, ballet, and hip hop. Like, it's everywhere and everywhere. The tanning of America, the advertising and marketing is all hip hop undertone because they know that hip hop doesn't just reach one demographic, it reaches all of the demographics. Well, wait a minute. If it reaches all of the demographics, it means there's a commonality there. There's a unifying force there. What could that possibly be? Black people, white people, Christians, Jews, Muslims, from different parts of the country, rural, urban, what is it? Because it's not religion. It's not politics. It's not sports. Go Knicks, man. What a season. My boys. Right here. I'll be back next year. Third team standing. Don't tell me them Knicks didn't do it this year. It's not sports because people are tribal. They've got their tribalisms. And it's not like capitalistic rap music, industry, industrial complex. No, it's hip hop. The ethos, the inner DNA, the roots, the tenets, the whatever, the peace, unity, love, and having fun. The core things that some people don't even recognize they have anymore. It's become a part of like youth culture or Americana, but it's there. And when every advertising company in the world taps into it, why? Because it can influence the masses. It's KRS-One said once, if hip hop can, I'm paraphrasing, if hip hop can basically damage the minds of the youth, then, which a lot of people claim it does, well, then it can certainly uplift them. If it could do one, it could do the other. It's just behavior management. It's just how it's being applied and how it's being directed at you, especially young people. I have teachers in this book. Shouts to Bettina Love. Shouts to Dr. Lauren Kelly. Shouts to Mikal Amin, teaching artists, right? Shouts to Dr. Andrea Hunt, teaches hip-hop in Alabama. Sociology of hip-hop. How do we teach some of the white kids in Alabama in a red political state that what you think about these other people is wrong, is you've been fed, a narrative that's incomplete and incorrect. And how do we do that? We could, you could read Du Bois, you could read Baldwin, you could read, Audre Lorde. You could read a lot of people. You could read Bell Hooks, sure. But you could also listen to hip hop. You can also find those same things in hip hop, and they do. She teaches it that way, and there's been some success in cultural awareness, cross-cultural understanding with people that are in your town or you're actually in your nation, in America. If we can maybe start to think about the ways that those relationships could be purposefully, molded or melded so that we can find ways to increase empathy across groups, increase understanding across groups. Mark Katz is in this book we talk about the State Department. Well, one of the things the State Department did, by the way, are y'all listening? I'm just rambling. I'm just waiting to go see what y'all got to say. I love it. Let me take a break. Let's see. Shouts to, Andrew Wayne, the backstory before playing the video game, like the whole backdrop before the recipe. My introduction in this book is potent and it's vital, but it's also, if you heard me, you kind of get it, but I strung it all together pretty nicely. My man Silent Night, rehearsing, but also watching and listening in between. Rehearsing, why? Because me and Silent Night are going to be rocking this week in New Jersey and New York City. So you need to follow me, find it, stay tuned. We got spots happening. I'll cut in real quick with a sponsor break, me, the sponsor. I'll be in Queens, New York on Thursday. The 5th, I'll be at the Queens Central Library at 5 p.m. I'll be doing a book talk with the legendary Ralph McDaniels from Video Music Box. If you know hip hop, you know Ralph McDaniels. If you come from New York City, you know Uncle Ralph. You know how wild that is, that I'm going to be sitting there talking about this book to the legendary VJ Ralph McDaniels. Come on now. I tell my daughter the other day, I said, I want to give a shout out to something. She goes, something. And I was like, by the way, I know the person that invented that phrase. I want to give a shout out. That's Ralph McDaniels. Anyone in the world says it. That's where it became popularized. Ralph McDaniels and me, book talk, Queens Library, Thursday, 5 o'clock. Friday night, we got something cooking. SK's gonna laugh. We got something cooking up in Harlem. Friday night, because the first day of the Hip Hop Ed Conference is Friday. If you're coming to Hip Hop Ed, you'll be there for this. Friday and Saturday, 2 days. Friday night in Harlem, we got a little something cooking, guys. Stay tuned in to me. I'll give you the details. We just putting it together now. And then Saturday is day 2 of the Hip Hop Ed Conference. And then Saturday night, we're at Mr. Pie's in Highland Park, New Jersey. And this is all like book celebration. Like, I'm out here. I've got a couple books on hand. I don't have a lot, but, buy it from me anyway when you see me. But we're just doing a little turn up, a little bit of fun, a little bit of getting together to celebrate going back to New York where it all kind of happened for me. So a lot going on this week. That being said, that's why he's practicing. Okay. So Jen says the book kind of feels like it's at the nexus of hip hop intellectual tradition and real world practice, everyday practice. So yes, that's kind of what I'm saying when I'm saying this, hyperbolic, is it the most important book of our time? A lot of books go into history. A lot of people go into history of hip hop, what it was. Most writers, a lot of academia talk about like hip hop, rap music, right? Some people will talk about the politics or the social justice incorporated into hip hop. Again, Chuck D did it with a film, Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos, or maybe it's just called In the Hour of Chaos. And it's a documentary about hip hop's tradition of being a social justice oriented cultural movement. Past. Again, this may tie into where Chuck was on the Breakfast Club saying, I don't feel it anymore. And I know it's not obvious, and it's not apparent, and it's not enough, and it's not overwhelming, and it's not as in your face as it might have been back when Chuck was on the radio with Public Enemy, and we had KRS-One on the radio, and we had Poor Righteous Teachers on the radio, and we had, Queen Latifah on the radio, and we had Common on the radio, and we had Mos Def on the radio. Like, I get it. There were times when musically it seemed like that was more of the prominence in the music. What I'm saying and what I say throughout this whole book, because we don't talk to artists in this book. It's a whole 300 pages. I mean, there's a couple of people that are also artists. Shouts to Mikal Amin, teaching artist, great MC, great performer, great recording artist, for sure. But we talked to him about his teaching artistry and how he applies his musical knowledge and musical skill and musical excellence into areas like education or, working in places like juvenile detention centers, or going overseas internationally and working with cultural exchange, artistic exchange across borders, and what that does to create community and build bonds across groups that either don't know each other, sometimes don't like each other. I was mentioning Mark Katz, the U.S. State Department can be tricky. We talk about it in the book. I didn't hold back. I said, you work for the State Department, bro. You work for the imperialists, and you out here doing hip hop diplomacy overseas, taking hip hop artists from the United States and going to conflict regions. How do we have the gall, the unmitigated gall, to go to another part of the world as Americans and try to talk about resolving and redirecting conflict? We're really good at creating conflict. We're not exactly the best ones at resolving or redirecting conflict. No, as a country, we may not be. But as citizens, our hip hop artists happen to be very good at finding ways to disarm and diffuse conflict. Again, the narrative that most people who are in that third bucket that don't think hip hop has anything to, no redeeming qualities. I'm telling you that it happens. I wrote about it. I interviewed the people who are doing it. I gave you my 2 cents. Bob, you said like I'm listening to how I tie it all together. That's the fun of the book. That was the which interviews do I pick from the archive of Hip Hop Can Save America? Which ones do I think tell the story? Which ones, tie to the next? It's like weaving together a tapestry, if you will. It's like sequencing an album. I was an artist. I rapped for a bunch of years. I made beats. I did remixes. The only album I ever put out was a basic compilation album of some of my remixes. It's pretty cool. It's called The Producer. It's on I have it on Bandcamp. You can find it. Great remixes. Some of them still get played to this day. I made it like 15 years ago. Good stuff. I could have been a contender. I made some dope beats. It was cool. But I never made an album. As an artist, I made some songs. I had a demo. I had like an EP. Like Sound Nights in the room. Sound Night has like 30 albums. Like these people are prolific. I never got to put out an album. This is my album. This is my album. And the chapters were chosen and sequenced like an album would be, right? And so yes, the weaving together of the narrative is important. I think I did my best. That's why I say, like, is this book the most important hip hop? It could be if I did it right. If not, it's still pretty important. It's still pretty important because what I'm doing is I'm bringing you people from all kind of industries, education, again, teaching artistry, the idea of conflict resolution or redirection, the next level program. Richard Ashe from Google, right, who developed a great program that I like amplify, like I talk about, I signal boost all the time. I love it so much. It's how young people as young as 13, 14, 15 can learn how to do computer coding in like an afternoon workshop with such joy and emphasis and enthusiasm and love because they do it by building beats. And so you could build beats, but you have to drag like loops and bass drum kick loops and guitar and whatever. You're building beats, you're layering stuff to like layer stuff on top of each other, but you can't drag and drop it. You have to do it by programming it. So you have to call from this repository using programming language that then you could use to actual program apps and other kinds of stuff. They use Python, which is a very popular platform. It's so amazing. Like I've seen it happen, and in 4 hours, these kids are like they got the basics of computer programming. Never thought that they could touch a computer in this way. Never thought that computer programming was a thing. No one ever presented it to them. They use their phone, they play games, they don't know how it's made. They don't know how the sausage is made. And this guy was like, "Hey, we can teach it to you. You'll love doing it because you're doing it with music." And then we play. Then the DJ plays all their beats, like as like a dance party. You know what I mean? They'll have DJ names, programmer DJ names. Like it's what? What's even happening here? It's brilliant. So he's in this book. My interview with him and my thoughts about that and how that now opens up a world of opportunity for young people who haven't been exposed to some of these fields. Not in the book. Michael Ford with the Hip Hop Architecture Camp. I forget his name. Hip Hop and Forestry Connection. My peoples at Pockets Change who teach financial literacy through hip hop. There's no field of study that you can't incorporate hip hop into to make it more interesting. It's just plain and simple. If I wanted to learn literary devices and onomatopoeias and iambic pentameters and all the things, similes and metaphors and the differences, you could have taught me Shakespeare and fine, that's cool, but you can also find those same literary devices in hip hop songs. And what's going to interest me as a kid more? I mean, it's just, I don't know, this is ridiculously basic, but we're not doing it. We're not doing it enough. We don't hear about it enough. I travel the world and talk about this stuff, and I love being the only like hip hop guy in a non-hip hop room, and people are blown away. They never even heard of this. They never even thought this was possible. So if we're seeing it change on a, piecemeal basis, and we're seeing like these which I all talk about here. I talk about the successes. I talk about their failures. Dr. Lauren Kelly, one of the best people in the world for this, talked about how doing this doesn't always work. So I'm not just sitting here being, pie in the sky, dreamer. We talk about the ways that it works. We talk about the things that you have to watch out for. You have to talk about the things that it could be misconstrued and misused and taken over by industries, co-opted, like the music and the culture have been all these days. I mean, so we're covering all the angles. I didn't say it's solutions for the nation from a culture of innovation, right? Because that'd be too, but as maybe the most important hip hop book of our time. But to say that these are solutions, I can't call it. But I damn sure know that it's inspiring because they're showing receipts. They're showing how these things work. Bob said, how am I going to tie this all together? Well, then it's to inspire you, right? It's to show that the thesis is, and you'll, again, read the introduction. That's really the most important part because now I said, it's like an opening statement. I thought I could have been a lawyer once. And it's like my opening statement. And then the book takes you through it and makes the case. And then the last chapter, instead of doing an outro, it's pretty cool actually, because it's a book of interviews. And the second to last chapter is my friends at Newsbeat, the Newsbeat podcast, where we used hip hop to amplify stories of social injustice. We used hip hop as journalism. Okay, the Newsbeat podcast, right? It wasn't Hamilton, you know what I mean? It was a little bit, like we like to say, like Democracy Now! And Black Thought had a podcast baby. We didn't just rap the news or just rap our way through things. Silent Night is one of our artists in residence. He's in the chat somewhere, and Liquid also. Shouts to the mighty Liquid. But what we did was we asked the artists to listen to the interviews that we conducted, world-class journalists that I work with, interviewing activists, experts, other journalists, sometimes covering these important stories, the movement to close youth prisons, the real origins of the war on drugs, the racist origin and continuation of the war on drugs. During COVID, disparities between communities, Black communities especially, disparity between healthcare and health results, redlining and climate change. Why not only is it bad enough that you've been redlined into a community where you can't really get generational wealth, and that's been proven and that's been shown for decades and decades, but now it turns out that they not only put you into neighborhoods that you couldn't, increase the value of your homes and, made it so that that was an area that wouldn't be uplifted. Maybe you don't buy your home, maybe you're renting. But not only that, you live in a heat desert. You live in a heat sink, right? Where it's actually hotter. It's actually 10 degrees hotter in your neighborhood. Why? Because they cut down all the trees to make projects, right? Or parking lots or stores. There's not enough trees, not enough parks. You don't have enough parks. So you're actually living at an elevated heat rate, which is causing or exacerbating health outcomes, asthma and whatever, right? Pretty much scientifically proven stuff, but you don't hear people talking about that much. The lady wrote a book. We got the lady who wrote the book. Stuff like that. And then we asked the artists, hey, y'all do this amazing job as smart rap artists, as so many rap artists are. I've often said some of the most brilliant people I've ever met in my life, and I've been at Harvard, and I've been at Carnegie Mellon, and I've been in places. The most brilliant people that I've ever met in my life are freestyle rap artists that used to spit at Freestyle Mondays in New York City. Reason why you have to know so much and your brain has to think so fast, and you have to have so much good knowledge and a way to connect it and make all these, like Bob said, the narratives connect. Rap artists do that really well. And plus they get more words in a song. You could have someone write a song, like write a folk song or country song. Cool. You can get a message. You can get a feeling. That's great. But if you want narrative, if you want like backstory, if you want, an essay in musical form, rap, hip hop, come on. It's like the more words per square inch, right? So we asked the artist, can you parse what this person has told us about this injustice? A couple people, usually it's a couple people, the history, the backstory, how it's affecting people today. Very often, people who are facing that injustice, right? We did such an incredibly heartbreaking story about the murdered, missing, and indigenous women and girls, right? There's a whole epidemic of murdered and missing indigenous women and girls. We did that story where we talked to the family members that are searching for their family member, right? So real heartfelt, tugging at your heartstrings kind of stuff. And we asked the artists, can you like segue this or translate this into like what you do? Can you tell this story your way? And I got to tell you, if I didn't work on this thing, I'm super proud of. We won all kind of awards. We actually beat the New York Times and any other New York-based news organization, Bloomberg, FS1, Spectrum, or whatever, News 12, whatever, Wall Street Journal, anything that's based in New York, basically. The New York Press Club Awards, Newsbeat, this podcast I'm describing to you, won first prize, Journalism Podcast of the Year. So a podcast with rappers up in it beat out everybody else. So if I didn't work on this myself, I think this was the greatest thing in journalism, right? Period. And I do think that, but I'm biased. Sure. Point is, other people felt the same way. We won awards, mad awards, right? The point is that this was an example of sort of revolutionary way to transmit information, right? We used to have to rely on the radio and the public enemies of the world. And I think that's where some of the OGs get it a little bit twisted because we don't have that anymore. And my argument is we don't I don't want to say we don't need that anymore, but we're not going to get it anymore. I've made this argument a lot. So we're not going to get it there because it's been too compromised, it's been too co-opted, it's been too commercialized as rap music should be. As rap music should be. It's beautiful. It's a great genre. Everyone loves it. Why not? You got country artists basically doing hip hop now. Cool. That's what we do. That's what hip hop does. Its gift to the world is that if you respect us, if you respect it and authentically love it, we can mold, we can work it, we can remix things, we can, put it all together. Problem is nobody's doing that. They're just taking it and, now you have another story of a Black American music form being co-opted and bastardized. However, that doesn't mean that what hip hop really gave America in the world is this other revolutionary, radical way to do things. And so if you look for it here and you don't get it the way you used to get it, you think it's gone. But it's over here. It's doing Newsbeat. Right? It's doing some of the stuff we're talking about in classrooms. It's doing some of the stuff in mental health therapy. Dr. Ian Levy is profiled in this book, right? Who was a school counselor of the year in New York, 2016 or something like that, built a recording studio in the high school for young people to come in. I have a quote from him that I just put up on Instagram the other day. Quote from him in the book. And it says, so he was bringing kids to, the studio as they're part of their counseling, their therapy, their in-school therapy. But they're like, they're hardheads. They don't want to talk to you. You're a counselor. You don't know me. You don't know what I'm going through. You're a white dude. You don't know nothing about nothing. What are you talking to me about? And he's like, yeah, but I got I make some beats. You make beats? You got beats? What are you talking about? Like, there's a studio? He goes, yeah, we're building a studio. What? Well, let me find out. So they come in and basically, as we all did, anyone try to be a rapper at one time, a lot of times we were like, yeah, I'm the nicest, I'm the biggest, I'm the freshest, da-da-da. But a lot of times it was like, yo, my life is hard. I'm going through this thing, this woman, this da-da-da, I'm broke, whatever. I rapped about, I was broke. I had a woman break my heart. I was rapping about it. I also rapped about aliens coming to take over the world. And then they were like, we choose you to battle us to save the planet. And I was like, yeah, let's go. And then I battled the alien and we went back and forth and I rapped as the alien. It was really dope. And then I made a beat. I sampled the X-Files. It was crazy. And then I beat the alien basically and saved the planet. You don't even know I saved the planet, bro. Like, you don't even know what I did. Anyway, right now we're talking about the book, not the fact that I saved the planet, but whatever. I never get credit. Point is that people will come in and when we were younger, they say you used to write a poem about how you feel, write an essay about how you feel. No one wants to do that stuff. But if you say write a rap about it, they will, because they be rapping. They rap just as a hobby now. Everyone raps. Everyone has a YouTube song, like whatever. And Ian found that this actually is a way to get them to open up, to build rapport and build trust, to have them speak on their traumas and their fears and their triumphs in a way that a school counselor or a therapist, that's what they want. That's all they want. And these hard-headed ass kids don't give it to them. But Dr. Levy found a way. Now he spits too. So maybe there was something there that he kind of recognized it, like I'm explaining like when I did it. But a lot of these kids will put it in the form of a rap. And the quote was, on the surface, hip-hop counseling helps young people make fire tracks. But at this deeper level, it's helping them refine their understanding of their emotional experiences and their ability to communicate these emotional experiences to the world in ways that they might not have been comfortable doing prior. If I'm a school counselor and I found a way to get my kids to refine their understanding of their emotional experiences and their ability to communicate these emotional experiences to the world in ways that they might not have been comfortable doing prior, I'm winning. I'm happy. My job is being done. If I'm a parent and I could find a way to make my young people, my kids, refine their understanding of their emotional experiences and their ability to communicate these emotional experiences to the world in ways that they might not have been comfortable doing prior, then I'm a good parent. And what I'm telling you is if you're a parent and you haven't done this with your children, it's cool. It's fine. I didn't know about it that's the book. I take you through the journey that I went through because I didn't know this stuff till I met these people, started talking to them and learning it. Come on the journey with me through the book and you'll see. Because if you're not doing this to your kids, you're missing out. We talk all the time about generation gaps and how we can't communicate with our kids and this hip hop today and it's not my hip hop, or, you know, I'm not even attached to hip hop, but these kids are and I don't even know. And so we just wash our hands of it. We walk away from it. And Ian Levy's saying, no, use it to connect with them. Dr. Raphael Travis, who's not in the book, but who wrote on the back of the book, gave me a beautiful endorsement. One of my good friend colleagues, right, does the same thing. These are proven to work. If you don't know this, if you're in that bucket that never heard of this stuff, welcome to Manny Faces and Hip Hop Can Save America. If you're in the bucket where you think it used to be able to do this, but it can't anymore, also welcome. You know, it's not could save America. Imagine that. Hip hop used to could save America. It's a great title. No, it can still forward now in the future. It can. It is in some ways revolutionary radical stuff. So no, Chuck, I don't know. It's not revolution like revolution in the streets but you know, there was the Minister Server, shouts to Minister Server, who talks about these things often down here in Atlanta. I'll be rocking with him. I'll be at the Hip Hop Congress in Atlanta. I'll be doing a book talk there as well coming up. By the way, I have a newsletter, talks about all these things. I'll put it up real quick just so you know. The free newsletter, mannyfaces.substack.com, or I don't know why I should just change this. Just go to hiphopcansaveamerica.com. Everything's at hip-hop. I'm going to take it off. Just go to hiphopcansaveamerica.com. Everything's there. The newsletter, the live stream, the video channel, the podcast, the audio feed. If you like audio feeds, you can still get this as an audio feed. And now the book. It could all be, I didn't even show you the book. Like, you can go to the website and buy it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even want, why am I, like, it's about the book. So it'll be in the notes. Obviously, it'll be the first thing. Everything's at hiphopsaveamerica.com. Just go there. There's a thing that says book. It'll take you to the book. If it says newsletter, go to the newsletter. I made it but I do all this myself. So please tell me if it's not intuitive, but I think it's intuitive. Anyway, okay. Shouts to Hip Hop Ed. Andrew Wang's going to be presenting there. I'm going to be there as part of a great panel. I'd love to do stuff with Mark Katz. Mark Katz is a little overdue. It's not his fault. It's not my fault. It's just life. To return to the show. 2 reasons. Number 1, everyone who's in the book, I want to have them come back to the show and let's talk about it because some of them I didn't talk to in years. Secondly, Mark Katz wrote, co-wrote a book called Rap and Redemption on Death Row, Seeking Justice and Finding Purpose Behind Bars. Again, I am the gateway drug to so many amazing stories about hip hop that are being used to improve lives or inspire people inside and outside of jail, for example. Aline Braxton, his co-author, was imprisoned. He would say wrongfully so for many, many years, and how turning to the arts helped him. What do you call it? I'll read it here. This book, a hip-hop-rich prison memoir, chronicles Braxton's struggles and triumphs as he attempts to record an album while on death row, something no one has done before, right? So a great story of the intersection of hip-hop in the criminal justice system in ways that, you know, we don't normally think of hip-hop in the criminal justice system. And again, I mentioned Mikhail Amin in the book, who also works with folks in juvenile detention centers and other, you know, facilities where they use the music and culture to help with self-expression. The same stuff Ian Levy's doing in the school, because an institution is an institution. Am I right? I mean, school's not jail, but it's kind of jail. You know what I mean? So again, until we get to the point of abolition or real reform, these are the seeds of revolution. I think when people think of revolution, they think of, you know, marching in the streets in 1960s and sit-ins and protests and, you know, then being beat back and fire hoses and Edmund Pettus Bridge and Bloody Sunday and, you know, all these things. And that's what revolution looks like. And we see it across the world, these uprisings and Arab Spring, and even when hip hop's involved in Senegal, rap music helped like change the course of the election, presidential election, 100%. Rap music, hip hop are 100%. Look it up. It's an interesting story. So we don't see that here because America is America, and there's a lot of obfuscation. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors because it's such a lucrative and commercial vehicle, the entertainment side of rap and hip hop. There's not many people on YouTube that are hip hop bloggers or YouTubers or VTubers or whatever, podcasters that talk about this. And when Charlamagne the God talked about it with Chuck D, it was like for 5 minutes. Then it's like, yo, what's up with the Knicks? Tell me about you and Spike Lee's, and okay, like cool. And what are you doing now, Chuck, with all the stuff you're doing now? We need to have an entire conversation about this. The best tool for revolution is still hip-hop. It's always been hip-hop. It'll always be hip-hop. What will kill the ability for hip-hop to be used as the best tool for revolution is if we keep saying it can't. If we keep saying it doesn't exist, that these things aren't radical and revolutionary. And Mikhail and me, we were on Facebook today on Minister Service page, and we were going back and forth a little bit on Facebook. And, he said that whole argument of, well, is it though? We're in the institutions. And I talked about that in the beginning. There might be a way to really usurp the power of the institutions in a way that actually does give humanity what it needs. For those that believe that that's what humanity needs, equity, inclusivity, and equality, and anti-racism, and the taking down white supremacy. Like, people are gonna say that's what not the white supremacists. They don't think that's not their plan. So I understand. Cool. Like, we're not talking about them. We're talking about like the rest of humanity that actually kind of just wants everyone to just be chill and like get along, and actually wouldn't be mad if everyone got the same opportunities. Then a lot of people say they wouldn't mind, but they would. And so okay, no, if we all had the same opportunities, that'd be fine. That's just right. This just was right. And then like you don't get a job and be like, I don't understand. I went to Stanford. Like, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't work like that. The point of the matter is that it will uplift. It can and will and is uplifting those folks who have never been on that playing level. It absolutely can do it in a way that traditional political, rising tide lifts all boats. Like, no. Even localized, political stuff, because again, Panthers and, they get shot down, literally and figuratively, right? So many times. So that's hard. A leader movement, King, Malcolm X, same thing. So that doesn't necessarily work. So the revolutions that everyone's been like wishing that hip hop could help manifest, they didn't work. They helped, I guess, but they didn't work. So what hip hop has done, Chuck said like hip hop used to be covert and now it's not because it's all out in the middle. But I don't think he knows about any of the people in this book. Any of the people that I just talked about tonight. Any of the work that they're doing, which is radical and revolutionary. And probably under the radar of the people that would not like to see something like this succeed. Like there's this big discussion. Hope y'all still with me. Hope I'm just rocking tonight. I'm just going. I know you're on the chat talking amongst yourselves. Fantastic. I love y'all. There's this big talk consistently about hip hop's ability to do these things and it being purposefully shut down by, the powers that be, the government. Same people took out the Panthers. Same people that put crack in the black community in the 80s, right? That they don't want to see. They recognized hip hop's power, the PEs of the world. And they said, oh boy, this is going to be even bigger than, protest music, Muhammad Ali talking junk or, Marvin Gaye doing what's going on. Or even when the white people like Bob Dylan was talking about Hurricane, like this hip hop stuff. Woo, they're listening and they're getting information. KRS-One's dropping. You must learn about reforming the school system, about the inadequacies of the school system. That's where I learned about black inventors like Benjamin Banneker and Granville Woods and, Charles Drew. You know what I mean? So I learned about them. They weren't taught in my school. I went to a black school. I went to school with black kids and they weren't being taught about, about these people. So the argument is that, and then there's that whole thing about the industry behind the scenes meeting, the big conspiracy theory. I don't buy that hip hop was totally targeted and dumbed down and violenced down. I think the natural progression of it came in with NWA, gangster raps, da-da-da-da. But don't forget, NWA is now looked at retroactively as being really important to translating what was happening on the ground in places like Los Angeles that were being ignored by the rest of the country. And again, as a New Yorker, I didn't know about colors. I didn't know about gangs. I didn't know about the level of police brutality in LA and until Rodney King. We didn't know. So we didn't know about that. We had our own problems in New York. But then we heard about this through the music. So even as negative as, gangster rap and the decline of rap after that, blah, 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 it was super important to get that information out to the masses. And then just like you have in film, well, the violence, that wins, that puts butts in seats, that sells tickets. The violence sold records. It's no different. So I don't know that it was purposefully targeted. I'm sure there were some people that were trying to do it for that reason. Government didn't help when you had the C. Dolores Tuckers, in Congress and the Tipper Gores in Congress trying to, squelch negativity in rap music. It's interesting because they were actually trying to make it less profane, which would have actually increased the conscious rap. So who was trying to cut down on the conscious rap? Because they often blame the government. They say, when they saw the power that hip hop was having. But those same government folk were trying to take down 2 Live Crew and shut down, you know what I mean? Reverend Calvin Butts with the steamroller was in Harlem, was rolling over CDs with a steamroller because of the filthy music and the, prostitution and the calling the bitches and the whores and all that stuff. Well, if they'd been successful, then there would have just been more conscious rap. So who was trying to, besides the theory that then the companies that built the private prisons, I know all this stuff, that built the private prisons said, we got to fill the private prisons. If we just keep, pumping the negative rap music and the violent stuff, they'll all be violent. They'll all kill each other, shoot each other, stab each other, and then we can put them in prison and we make our money. Maybe that was some of the thinking, but I think that the thinking was more like, hey, violence sells, sex sells, drama and controversy sells, and we're going to make money. And this is the way we're going to make money. And when you looked at the numbers of, The Chronic and, 50 Cent, even Eminem, and you looked at the numbers of Mos Def and, and Black Star, and you looked at the numbers of Common even, other like pretty big stars, and maybe Outkast. Outkast was kind of like the outlier there. They sold millions and millions of records, and they really weren't on that, grimy-ish. But most, these were the ones that were selling. And then people say, yeah, because white people across America were buying. Yeah, okay. And white people go watch John Wick. So if you make more John Wicks, 19 John Wicks. It wasn't a government conspiracy to, like, once they came out with the National Geographic Channel to make more John Wicks so we could keep people violent. Now, don't get me wrong. The black community especially has been targeted, absolutely. And there's a lot of funny business. My point is that was what's happening. That's not the end-all, be-all. If you want revolution, it's not going to happen in the music. If you want revolution, it's not going to happen in the movie theater. Just think about the revolutions, the actual revolutions. They were covert. They were talked about in a meeting room in the back of a bar somewhere in Boston to protest the Tea Party. It's called the Green Dragon Bar, by the way. I'm not making that up. It was actually, that's where the people got together for the American Revolution, in the back of a basement of a bar. That's covert. That's doing it where the powers that be aren't watching. So I'm saying all the other stuff to say, if that's true, let the conspiracy theories be true. Let everyone be trying to make everyone violent in hip hop and just put the most violentest music out there on purpose. Ha ha ha. Look, we got them. And they're staring at the drill rappers, and they're staring at the whole thing saying, look what we've done. We've caused them to just hate each other and kill each other. And I said, I got 300 pages right here that'll tell you that in the basement of the back of the bar, we're talking revolution. And it's covert. Why? Because there's 6 people watching. Maybe more. But it's covert. There's not a lot of us talking about it. There's all these people that are doing the work, but they don't have time to talk about it, to amplify it. So I built an ecosystem. We have a Discord server. We have a newsletter. We have this show, we have the podcast, we have the book, we have Manny Faces, the speaker. Hire me, bring me to your organization and say, how can you inspire us to do radical revolutionary stuff? Because you seem to know all these people that are doing it, and we want to do radical revolutionary stuff. We just don't know how, and we're not really tapped in. But hip hop we like, and we want to know more about it, but we don't want to use it as a gimmick. Dr. Gloria Ladson-Billings, the OG of culturally relevant pedagogy, in the book. Talk to me. She's in the book. She gave me permission to you can put my interview in the book. She says about teachers doing hip hop. She goes, well, we don't want teachers to do hip hop. We want teachers to be hip hop. So you'll find through this book that even though I talked to the late, great Jarrett Shield, hip hop music ed, music educator, taught at Berkeley, passed away after I did the interview with him. He's in the book. His wife, his late wife, his widow, Dr. Antonia Shield, gave me permission to put his interview posthumously in the book. Talked about we need to respect hip hop as a form of music, and that it's so hard for Andrew Wang. You can attest to this. The fact that the music education space, right? We talk about hip hop as a way to teach other things, but just teaching it as a music is still not being done. It's still not being understood. These are things that still have to change in these institutions, or we have to find ways to go through the back door and do it on the side, do it over here in the field where no one's watching. But it just goes to show how little these institutions that are supposedly keeping us all down are paying attention. They don't know any of this exists. They don't hear the impassioned, like Jarrett's, impassioned defense of hip hop as important to our culture as Americans, as classical music was, as jazz was and is. So the narrative is in the book. I've given you some glimpses. I really want folks to kind of tie it together. I've been just talking for like an hour. And I said I'd take questions, and I don't know if that's going to happen. Y'all might have been questioning, and please, if you have any questions about the book or about my philosophy here, that's who's in the book. Obviously, you can look at the table of contents anyway, so I'm not giving you anything that you didn't know about. Dr. Bettina Love is featured. Dr. Ian Levy, again, we talked about McCallum Lee, Richard Ashe from Breakbeat Code. Ben Ortiz is in here. I love Ben Ortiz's work. He works at the Cornell Hip Hop Collection. There's an archive. So there are people doing archiving work. A lot of people doing it. Ben happened to be one of the ones I talked to, and I wanted to put his conversation in the book, how important it is for narrative. I'm giving you a narrative, so that's meta. Like, they're making sure the narrative of the narrative is properly maintained for history's sake. And again, it's in an institution, it's in a school, but they're kind of doing it justice because we got one of ours in there. Ben Ortiz is hip hop. He's a hip hop head. And what they did was they said, when we do this, again, like Gloria Ladson-Billings said, don't do hip hop, be hip hop. They said, we're going to do a hip hop collection. It's a long story how we got there. It's a really good story. It's in the book. And they said, but we can't do it. We're academics. We're archivists. We know archiving, but we don't know hip hop. And they had the balls. They had the cojones to go and get someone from hip hop to help build the Cornell Hip Hop Archive. Because it can't be archivists that don't know about hip hop. And there aren't any, at the time, really weren't any hip hop archivists. Sarita Gates, who's not in the book, but does a lot of this work, says she was trying to find old source magazines online. I'll let her tell the story better than me, but I'm paraphrasing. She's trying to find like old, collections of hip hop magazines. There was so many. There was The Source. There was, Double XL. There was Vibe. There was, Ego Trip. There was, all these. Rest in peace, Sasha Jenkins, by the way. Big loss. Talking about hip hop journalism over the years. I don't got respect for a lot of these folks. Not a lot of respect, like some respect, sure, begrudgingly. Maybe back in the days, like Chuck and, hip hop being a tool for revolution. Like, y'all did good stuff once, but what you're doing now isn't really moving the cultural needle to me. Ooh, that's saying keep your mouth shut. Don't go there tonight. But Sasha Jenkins was the real one and did a lot of great work. And that's a big loss. Big loss to the culture, big loss to journalism. Sarita Gates said she couldn't find online anywhere old hip hop magazines. Nobody was thinking to archive them. Mixtapes. Sure, you have the Dat Piff, the internet's archive of mixtapes, which then disappeared and then came up again at the Internet Archive and then disappeared again. I did a story about it. I interviewed a guy. It was one of the episodes. So you have that, but physical mixtapes. Shouts to Summer McCoy, who, by the way, is the the eternal consulting producer for this very podcast, for this show. This book doesn't happen without Summer McCoy, by the way. Summer Reagan McCoy. The Mixtape Museum, her initiative to archive physical mixtapes, tapes, cassettes, because nobody was doing it, right? This is important. These are artifacts. These are cultural artifacts. You might think, oh, a mixtape. A mixtape tells a story about a moment in time, just like an album does, just like To Pimp a Butterfly did, right? Won a Pulitzer. But so does a mixtape, even though it's not like one artist, it's a DJ, compiling, but as part of a theme, a collective of music that maybe right now was saying something. And an artist in his own right, that DJ, a curator, a sequencer, just like I did with the book. Like I said, I sequenced it like an album, thoughtfully, thoughtful. It wasn't just, there's a narrative here. And I try to do that well, and you'll tell me once you read it. But that's important. So Ben Ortiz is in the book. Dr. Gloria Ladson Billings, once again. Great chapter in there where I get personal. Jarrett Shield again, rest in peace. Dr. Andrea Hunt, who I talked about, teaches rap music to the white kids in Alabama, largely white kids. Dr. Mark Katz from the Next Level program. My boys, Gangsta Grass. I did a whole chapter on Gangsta Grass. If you know me, you know I've covered Gangsta Grass. They're a fusion music group, bluegrass and hip hop. And on the surface, that could be really, really good or really, really bad. And they're really, really good. And I think it means a lot to see how they handle their artistry in a world where bluegrass and hip hop authentically, don't necessarily go together. And we're not talking about country music. We're not talking about Shabuzi. We're not talking about, Lil Nas X. Like, get down home Kentucky bluegrass and hip hop. So I'm just saying, it's an interesting allegory, simile, metaphor. Dang, I wish I paid attention during them Shakespeare days. If you had done the Words Live program, I probably would have. Dr. Lauren Lee Kelly, again, mentor, friend, book would not have happened, literally would not have happened in this format with this publisher if it wasn't for Lauren telling me to try to not self-publish it and go for an academic press, which I did, and I'm holding books now, like a year later, and I'm so humbled by this. I know I talk a lot of junk tonight, but this is a very humbling experience, and for a lot of reasons, I just didn't think it would happen. Anyway, and then the storytellers, my friends Christopher Twarowski, Rashad Mian, and me in a three-way conversation about Newsbeat, the podcast I told you about earlier, and then the outro, the epilogue, if you would, because my boys from Newsbeat are expert interviewers and journalists, and this was a book of interviews. The last chapter is them interviewing me about the book. Ooh, how meta is that? Me, my thoughts for why I did it. So it's basically my closing statement. Introduction, long, thick, full of all my thinking of these things. Oh, everything I've put together is in there. There's shout outs to people. There's mentions of things. There's how I came across things, a little bit of my background. Then everyone's narratives, I weave it together, a little commentary, and then we take it out with sort of my closing statement. Whew. That's how it goes. I am definitely looking for panels, book signings, etc., keynote talks, paid opportunities, obviously trying to make this the thing that I do, but y'all got to help me make that happen. So if you know anybody that puts together panels, book talks, colleges are great. Community organizations, like I say, there's a lot of lessons that are in this book, and the way I tie it all together, it just, if you're in education space, maybe there's someone you could talk to. Dr. Chris Emden, of course, keynotes, education panels all the time. Hip Hop Ed, we're going to be there this Friday and Saturday. But sometimes, just because I've talked to a lot of people in a lot of different ways, I have this sort of holistic view of things. And so if you're looking for ways to, perhaps, and I'll be touchy about this one, but I think there's a need here, progressive political, anglings. Like, I think it needs some of these lessons for sure. Again, education spaces, community building, community organizing. I don't know. There's a million places that I could talk. Tech. I do a great tech keynote that ties in hip hop with tech and how the tech industry can learn from hip hop, needs to learn from hip hop, and isn't learning from hip hop, and is therefore doing not only hip hop and the people from whence it came a huge disservice, since it's a very undiverse. Undiverse. That sounds like underwears. A non-diverse, not a very diverse industry. And part of that can be solved actually by recognizing the brilliance, the genius within hip hop and its participants, its cultural citizens. And that's the other big lesson from the book. The book isn't that we can be adults and grown-ups and work with our young kids and make them all better. Underlying all of this is that they're geniuses. Hip hop was started by teenagers, right? Barry, an educator and artist from New York, has a great TikTok that I share sometimes. about these being teenagers, black teenagers, Hispanic teenagers getting in the mix, New York City, doing this from nothing. Well, quote unquote, the something from nothing narrative, right? I like to say actually hip hop was something from everything. I don't like something from nothing. I get what they're trying to say there, but it was nothing. It wasn't nothing. It was never nothing. It was always something. It was always a lot of things. Hip hop is the ultimate remix culture. And obviously hip hop took from its surroundings, but also the last, 30 years of music and culture influence. And then the last, 400 years of, American, Black American experience. And then centuries and millennia before that, going back to the diaspora, to to Africa, and where the cradle of civilization, where it all starts. Hip hop comes from all of that, but it's channeled through young people. And so when I'm saying that, like, oh, we could be the teachers, we could be the counselors, we could be the things. I mean, yeah, because it has to be like, that's where I think the change happens. But also when you do this to young people, when you work with them, then they start learning at a much earlier age than we did about these ideas and the possibility of this way of thinking. It's not about the music. It's not about the art form. It is, but it's not. It's about making an art form from something that didn't exist previously. It's about making a genre of music from something that didn't exist previously. It's about making two turntables be able to blend and merry-go-round and go back and forth when they couldn't previously do that. It's about inventing dance styles that are amalgamations of other dance styles or something totally new that didn't exist before that. It's about saying, we don't like your music, even in New York City, even on black radio. We're not going to play your music. And so they said, okay, we'll go to colleges and we'll make mixtapes and we'll put our mixtapes all around the city. And that way everyone will be listening to us, but no one will be listening to you, radio station. And so the radio station had to say, okay. 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturdays. Google, I'm talking to you. Messing up my monologue here. It's about hip hop reinventing, as Grandmaster Caz says in the documentary The Art of Rap, that hip hop didn't invent anything. It didn't. People were, that's hip hop. It didn't make anything. It's all sampling and remaking. Yeah. It didn't invent anything, he says, but it reinvented everything. And I could point you to an area of society where a thing has been in place for a long time and hasn't resulted in, I don't know, success, right? Or equity or, humanity. And then I can point you to an area, that same area, where someone is applying sort of this hip hop mentality into it. Sometimes it is directly connecting to the music and the art form because that's what everyone kind of, young people talk to and we all talk there. We have this communal thing. But sometimes it's just the way I see the world, the way I look for a solution in a way that most people don't. When we wanted to do social justice journalism and I was like, rappers can do that. I mean, sure, like Hamilton existed, and so the people involved in it were like, but we don't want it to be corny. And I was like, no, it's fine. We can do it and not be corny. Trust me when I tell you. Newsbeat, rappers, the stories we did, Silent Night, Liquid, Rebel Diaz, Sam Sellers, Osiris Anthem was on an episode. Trust me, nary a corny rapper amongst us. All right. These were not corny amalgamations of rap and journalism. But nobody else thought to do that because it's a hip hop way of thinking. There's no thing that hip hop can't. Silent Night made a hip hop polka song, for God's sakes. No one does that. There's things that we do. It's just hip hop. It's just what things people do. Again, we talked in the beginning. The advertising industry, fashion industry, the car culture, fashion streetwear, whatever you want to call it, publishing, music, TV, loving hip hop. Yeah, give props to Joe Budden, who really invented it. But you know what I mean? Hip hop. If you go around and be like, everything is influenced by hip hop, yes, that's the point. For better and for worse. But if we can make some things better, like the people who in this book and like the me who kind of sees this holistically, why aren't we? Well, we needed a place to start, a guidebook, right? As Raphael Travis, great instructor, advisor, social worker, wrote a book called The Healing Power of Hip Hop. Another guidebook, a pre-existing, a seminal guidebook. Again, shouts to Can't Stop, Won't Stop. My man Murray Foreman and Mark Anthony Neal and Regina Bradley. That's the joint, the Hip Hop Studies Reader, which this podcast is listed in. Oh my God, the seminal text for hip hop studies, 100%. To learn about the history, learn about the present, the future. Yes, it's all in there. But how it can actually inspire actual radical and revolutionary change in America, it comes from here. It's not solutions, inspiration. But when we get to that next level, it's going to be all using things that we learned from these folks and others like them that have been on the show that weren't in the book. Only 20 people get put in the book. But that's here. That's what we're figuring out. So please, if this is of interest to you, buy the book. First of all, hiphopcansaveamerica.com. Go to book. You'll find your way there. Bring me to talk. Hire me. Panels, keynotes. I'm be in New York this week. New York and New Jersey. I'll tell you where in a minute, and then we're going to wrap it up. So yeah. Anyway, I presented the case here for people who might not know me, not know any of this. Some of y'all know me, and it's okay. You can cut out, please do. I'll be here. New York City this week, Thursday, June 5th at 5 p.m. I'll be at the Central Library, Queens, New York, Central Library with my man, my mellow, none other than Ralph McDaniels, flipping the tables. I'm going to be interviewed by the great Ralph McDaniels from Video Music Box, who hasn't been on this show, but I've interviewed twice already on previous podcasts. We have a good rapport. He's a great dude, and I'm really excited to bring this book back to New York, back on Long Island, even though Queens is, I know y'all got to tell me, but it's the actual island, so whatever. Where I'm from, Ralph McDaniels, who I used to come home from school and turn my little UHF channel to watch Video Music Box like everyone else on Long Island did back in those days. It's a beautiful full circle moment. I'm going to really enjoy this moment to be there back amongst my New York brethren and sisterin, and hopefully some people will come. I know some people I know will be coming out. It's going to be dope. And Friday and Saturday, the Hip Hop Ed Conference. Now I've gone to the Hip Hop Ed Conference. I've had the Hip Hop Ed folk on my show. I've talked to a bunch of people affiliated with Hip Hop Ed. The Twitter chat I've been in. We have so many great conversations. We have so many great people involved in this movement, this collective of educators and practitioners and combinations of all of the above. Shouts to Dr. Chris Emden. Shouts to my man Tim Jones. Who are at the helm of this thing, but so many people that have been like instrumental in making this like an inspiring movement of people that all kind of can lean on each other and talk to each other. Wherever I go to a conference, there's Hip Hop Ed people there. We were in the Twitter chats together. It's a family affair. This time it's a 2-day conference. They've been doing the conference for quite a bunch of years. They also publish books on this idea of hip hop education, hip hop ed. But the conference is 2 days. There's still time to register. There's no reason why I don't think you can still register now. You can go to, I'll put on the screen probably. Hang on. Just so you know, I want to give them the ultimate love. Hip Hop Ed Conference this Friday and Saturday in New York City, June 6th and 7th. A full lineup of panel discussions, of performances and DJ sets, of book talks. There's going to be a great panel conference that closes it out, and that's going to be. Oh, look here! I can show you all the Hip Hop Ed stuff. Yeah, see, look. Oh, nope, that was in my Knicks there. All the Knicks, too soon. So hip hop as transformation is the topic this year. I thought that would be great to have me involved in some way, since, that's kind of my lane. I talk about hip hop as transformation, not just in the educational sphere, which they tend to focus on, but across like all of humanity. It's the whole thing. Hip hop can save America, not hip hop can save any one part of America. And so this was a very aligned theme this year, and I know them, and I'm like, yo, let's do something together. And they were like, absolutely, come through. So you'll see a lot of stuff there. Fireside chat, Chris Emden, Dr. Justice just got his doctorate, Yachty, so many great people that will bring such insight into the things we're talking about. The Science Genius program that Dr. Chris Emden kicked off a bunch of years ago. Again, an inspirational, receipt-filled way to show and prove that you could teach science to young kids in a way that's never been addressed before, that's going to be way more effective, way more interesting, show better results, better engagement, better grades, better love for the science, better command of the material than anything that has ever been tried before. I'm telling you, if you're a science teacher or you know a science teacher, the Science Genius program will teach young people science in a way that has never been done before, yet it is enormously effective at increasing engagement, results, enthusiasm, grades, buy-in from friends, family, and the community. Are you telling me that I could teach a science class in high school and somehow I'm going to get the community, my family, my friends to back me up in my learning of chemistry or biology or earth science? Yes, 100%. That's not even a thing. Don't you understand? These things don't even make sense when you say them out loud, but they exist. They exist. I talk a little bit about Science Genius in the book and give a little props. And of course, the section with Richard from Breakbeat Code goes into, again, ways that we can connect people to technology, young people especially, in ways that have never been done before, but that are way more effective than anything that's been done before. So why don't we want to do these things? Why don't we want to do these things? I know why some people don't want to do these things, but we want to do these things. And before they find out about us and try to shut us down, let's keep working to find ways to do these things. So yeah, Science Genius at the Hip Hop Ed Conference. My man, Mamelo, Dr. Ajapong has a great book, Teach Like an MC. Again, great resource for teachers. They'll be doing a book talk. Again, a little bit of performances. And my book will be on hand as well. I'll be at the final panel discussion. It's called Bright Sparks Live. This is going to be Saturday, second day. Chris Emden, Dr. Jamila Sams, who I've had on this show from Social and Emotional Learning. We do it for the culture. Me, and of course, Yoli Seeley Ruiz. Again, great, brilliant minds. I'm extraordinarily humbled that I'm even on the same picture with these folks. I've learned from them. They've inspired my work. They should all be in the book. I just interviewed them later. They'll be in volume 2. I'm just saying, could happen. But we're going to have a great discussion. This is brought to you by Yellow, Team Yellow, which is actually Pharrell's education charity initiative, Pharrell. So we're getting some love from some of the so-called industry heads, but Pharrell's been a supporter of the hip hop ed movement, and we definitely welcome his participation, and I'll be on that panel. Very proud of that. Friday night, in between day 1 and day 2, I got a joint happening, my man Silent Night. Toast from the band called Fuse. We put something together. It'll be at the Aloft Hotel in Harlem. Okay? Right near Teachers College, right near Columbia. Some of the hip-hop ed folk might be staying at the Aloft Hotel. Made it easy for you. In the Aloft Hotel, in the evening time, from 8 to, 11, 12, somewhere around there, I'm going to be there. We're going to have some music playing. We're going to be mingling and talking and networking. It's like the after party for day 1 of the conference, but it's also my book release celebration. Because I don't know if you heard, I wrote a book. And I may or may not have any left by the time I get there to buy in hand. But you could feel the one, I'll keep one, and then you could feel it. And then you could buy it right in front of me. And then when it comes, we can meet up later and I can sign it. And that'd be cool. Because I don't have enough to you know what I mean? Anyway, it'll be there. We're going to be chilling. Sound Night will do a little something on the mic. toast on the bass. We're gonna have a little musical, gathering. It'll be smoothed out. Not no turn up. Just be, we're grown folk. We just taking it easy. Be lounging, but it'll be right there near, obviously the hotel that a lot of people be staying in, and by Teachers College. That's Friday night, and then Saturday again, Team Yellow. After that, New Jersey, the New Jersey leg of my tour. Right. So again, Thursday, Queens, Ralph McDaniels, Central Library, Queens. Friday, day one of the conference. And then in the evening, Aloft Harlem. We're going to have a little shindig. Aloft Harlem at the hotel, at the bar lounge area. Come up to Harlem. See me. It'll be on my social medias. You can find it. I'll give you all the details tomorrow, probably. I'm tired. And then Friday, that's Friday night. Saturday, day two of the conference. I'll be there. I'll be doing Bright Sparks Live with Team Yellow. Saturday night, Mr. Pies, Highland Park, New Jersey. We already rocked over there a few weeks ago after the Rutgers Hip Hop Youth Research and Activism Conference. Had a good time at Mr. Pie. It's not a pizzeria, by the way. I thought it was a pizzeria when I first heard it. And I don't know, I don't think that's a bad thing. It's Mr. Pies. But Mr. Pies is a sushi place. So I'm guessing Pie is maybe a Japanese surname or just a clever name. I don't know. And I probably shouldn't be saying any more words. But it's not a pizzeria. But I had the sushi. It was really good. And I had a Connie salad, and it was really good. And I know their fries. I didn't get to have their fries because Sal and I ate all the fries. And I think he gave me 2. They were really good. They're really good. Good food. We're going to be jamming. We'll play some, classic R&B. On both of these spots. Classic R&B, soul music, some hip-hop, for sure. And we're just going to have a good time. So, my book tour, y'all. That's all I got. But I got some things happening in Atlanta in June. Craft Beer Festival. My man Sky Zoo, we're gonna be on a panel together with some other great folks. Shouts to Randy down here at the Crafted for Action conference. I'll be at Banji Boombox down here. Shouts to Liquid, shouts to people at Banji Boombox doing a great panel on audio, on how to do audio for podcasts with my good friends from Bonfire Radio, TK, Conscious, my man Macedonia. We got things New York to Atlanta connection, so I'll be in Atlanta. The Hip Hop Congress is having a 2-day conference. I'm doing my book talk there. In the fall, I'll be doing something at Georgia State, it looks like. Yeah, man, Atlanta, I'm down here. So I got New York kind of, not under control because I do want to come back. There's other things, a lot to do in New York. And I got Atlanta. If you want to bring me out to where you are, please let me know. If you're a media person or media people, we need some help. We need to get this word out. I'll be on a couple podcasts. I got some stuff lined up already. We got to get some looks about the media. I know they're watching because I hit them all up and I'm like, hey, I got this thing. And they're like, yeah, sure. Everyone writes a book. I'm like, this is a pretty important book. And it's, you really should get, you about the culture. You down for the culture, right? Hashtag for the culture. This might be the most important hip hop book of our time. Look, it says it right there. All right. That's my case. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Giving me this space to just talk about me and my work. But as you know, my work is filled with, so many good people and their good work. So is it really about me? Is it? Yeah, kind of. But, I think we make a good team. Me, the journalist activist, them, the practitioner, brilliance peoples who are doing the work. And my job is to bring their stories to you. I wrote a book. It's crazy. One day I'll just give you a real personal, the stories of why this is so important. I hinted a little bit of the book. Some of it has to do with my dad, who's no longer here, who I talk about a few times. So I'll let you read it in there. But yeah, it's a big achievement. And, I hope you like it. I hope I did hip hop justice. Hip hop's always been good to me. Its people has always been good to me. The communities from whence hip-hop came and was birthed and nurtured and overlooked and underloved and under-resourced, they've always been good to me. So whatever, skills I have, whatever privilege I eke out of this life, I'm going to keep trying to use it in ways that uplift and enhance those good people that, have always been good to me. Gave me my most memorable moments and the most fun I've had. Through hip hop, I met people that, and then I had my kids. It wouldn't have been, I wouldn't have met their mothers if it wasn't for hip hop. You know what I mean? Literally. So yeah, and my kids are great and my life is great. And, as much of a struggle and hardship as it is to make $1 out of 15 cents doing this hip hop advocacy thing that, not a lot of people pay. I didn't even ask you. I got a Patreon. You could contribute. I got Substack. You contribute. I don't care. Well, it's a book deal, but it's if y'all know academic book deal, and no one's getting paid off this. I'm not getting paid off these books. I still need y'all help until we can find a way to, kind of really, finance this. So I'm working on some things, some nonprofit help, right? If you know the nonprofit space, you want to help out, reach out. I'll fill you in. Media, nonprofit, and places that I can come talk. So those are the 3 things. So if you're watching still, or if you tuned in later, media, help. If you know someone, if you are media, if you know someone, got a podcast, writes for a newspaper, or has a radio shows, whatever, just, nudge, give them a nudge in our direction. Media. And then nonprofit space, if you know some nonprofit stuff, I'd like to, pick your brain. We're trying to get some things launching. That's sort of the next level of all this. And thirdly, bring me places, get me there. I'll go pretty much anywhere. Just, pay me a reasonable, fee. And I will be there in all my splendor and glory and telling the stories about the people that can help hip hop save America. With that, good night and good luck, as the man says. But as I say, until next time, peace and love to you and yours.